I am 78 years old, and I am holding a card in my hands right now that has never been opened. Let that sit with you for a moment. It's an anniversary card, faded yellow envelope. The corners are soft now, worn down like everything else in this house, like me. The flap is still sealed, never torn, never slid open with an eager finger. Nobody ever read the words inside because nobody ever cared enough to try. I bought this card myself for my 50th wedding anniversary. I bought it because I already knew, the way you know the sun will set, that he wouldn't. He never did. Not once in 55 years of marriage did that man hand me a card, a flower, a single word that said, "I'm glad you're here." 55 years. I want you to feel that number. That's not a marriage. That's a sentence. And I served every single day of it. I'm sitting at my kitchen table right now. The morning light is coming through the window, and I can see the dust floating in the air, just drifting, going nowhere. That dust is more free than I ever was. The clock on the wall is ticking, and it's the loudest sound in this house. It has been for years. Tick, tick, tick. Every second reminding me of how many I gave away to a man who never once looked up from his own life to notice mine. So here's my warning, and I'm only going to say it once. Don't you dare stay for the sake of staying. Don't you dare. I grew up in a small town in the 1960s. The kind of town where everybody went to church on Sunday and nobody talked about what happened Monday through Saturday. My mother was a quiet woman. I can still picture her standing at the ironing board, pressing my father's shirts, with this look on her face like she had swallowed something bitter and just decided to live with the taste. She never complained, not once. My father sat in his chair every evening and read the paper, and they could go an entire night without exchanging a single word. I thought that was normal. I thought that was what marriage looked like. The lie I learned, the one that was sewn into me before I was old enough to question it, was this: a good wife endures. A good wife does not ask for more. A good wife keeps the house clean, keeps the children fed, keeps her mouth shut, and keeps going. Love was not something you felt. It was something you proved by staying, by not leaving, by waking up every morning and doing it all again, without anyone asking you how you were. I believed that lie the way you believe gravity. I never questioned it. It was just the way things were. I got married when I was 23. I wore a borrowed dress that smelled like someone else's perfume and carried gardenias because they were cheap and in season. He was tall, quiet, steady. I thought his silence was strength. I thought the fact that he didn't say much meant he was thinking deeply, that he was feeling things he just couldn't express. I told myself that story for decades. He's just not good with words. He shows love differently. He's a provider. No, he was empty. And I spent 55 years pouring myself into a man who had no bottom, no vessel, no place to hold what I was giving. Everything I offered just fell straight through. But I didn't see that then. On my wedding day, I thought I was beginning a life. I was actually ending one. I just didn't know it yet. And now I sit in this same house, same kitchen, same table. The gardenias are long dead. The borrowed dress went to Goodwill 30 years ago, and I am alone. But here's the thing that'll break your heart if you let it. I was alone then too. I was alone the whole time. I confused loyalty with love. I confused silence with peace. And by the time I understood the difference, I had already given away every good year I had. Now let me tell you about the night everything became clear. The night I stopped pretending. It was our 50th anniversary, 5 decades, half a century with the same man under the same roof. I decided I was going to make it matter. I don't know why. Maybe some stupid, stubborn part of me still believed that if I just tried hard enough, set the table beautifully enough, made the food good enough, he would finally see me. I spent the whole day cooking, a roast with rosemary. I can still smell it if I close my eyes. That deep, herby warmth filling the kitchen. I peeled potatoes until my fingers were raw. I made his favorite pie, the one with the lattice crust that took me an hour to get right. I set the dining table with the good china, the set we got as a wedding gift that we almost never used. I lit 2 candles and put them in the center of the table. I even ironed the tablecloth. My mother would have been proud. I looked just like her. I bought 2 anniversary cards that afternoon. One for him. I wrote something inside, something honest. I said, I know we're not perfect, but I'm still here, and I hope that means something. The second card I bought for myself. I want you to hear that clearly. I bought myself an anniversary card because I knew with absolute certainty that he would not. I didn't write anything inside that one. I just held it at the store and thought, maybe this year will be different. Maybe this year he'll surprise me. So I left it sealed, just in case. Just in case I wouldn't need it, because he'd come home with one of his own. I set his card next to his plate. I stood back and looked at that table, and for a moment it was beautiful. The candlelight was flickering against the china, making little golden reflections dance across the ceiling. The house smelled like rosemary and warmth and hope, and I stood there in my good dress, the blue one I saved for occasions. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like a wife, a real one, not a housekeeper, not a ghost moving through rooms, a woman who mattered to someone. Then I heard his truck in the driveway. The keys hit the counter the way they always did. That same metal clatter I'd heard 10,000 times. He walked right past the dining room, right past the candles, right past the china and the roast and the card with his name on it. He went into the living room, dropped into his recliner, and turned on the television. I stood in the kitchen doorway and watched the candlelight flicker against two empty chairs. The sound of canned laughter from some sitcom came drifting in from the other room. Fake people laughing on a screen, while I stood there in my blue dress with rosemary on my hands and absolutely nothing left inside me. I didn't cry. I want you to understand that. I did not cry. Something much worse happened. Something final. I felt the last thread of hope pull loose and fall away. And there was no pain, just stillness, just a vast, cold quiet that settled into my chest like snow filling a grave. I walked over to the table. I picked up the card I'd written for him. I slid it back into the envelope. I sealed it, and I put it in the kitchen drawer with the rubber bands and the expired coupons and all the other things nobody would ever need. He never asked about dinner. I put the food away. I blew out the candles. The wax had barely melted. That's how quickly hope died that night. 2 small candles, almost completely whole, snuffed out before they even had the chance to burn down. I washed the good china by hand, dried every piece, and put it back on the high shelf. He fell asleep in his recliner that night. The television was still on. I stood over him for a moment and looked at his face and realized I was not looking at my husband. I was looking at a stranger I had wasted my entire life on. That was the night I understood. I had not been living a marriage. I had been mourning one. For decades. I had been attending the funeral of something that never lived in the first place. He passed 2 years ago. Heart gave out on a Tuesday morning. Nothing dramatic, no final words, no deathbed confession. He was sitting in that same recliner, and then he wasn't. People asked me if I was okay. They brought casseroles. They held my hands at the funeral and said things like, 55 years, what a blessing. I smiled and nodded because that's what a good wife does, even after he's gone. Even at the end, I was performing. But I'll tell you what I felt. Nothing. I expected grief. I expected relief. I got neither. I got numbness so thick I couldn't feel my own heartbeat. The house still smells like his aftershave in the hallway closet. I can't bring myself to move his coats. Not because I miss him, because the emptiness behind those coats would be too honest. It would confirm everything I already know. I found the card again last week. That sealed envelope, still sitting in the junk drawer after all these years. I pulled it out and held it in my hands and felt the weight of it. Not the paper, the decades, the thousands of dinners cooked and never thanked for, the school plays attended alone, the nights I lay beside him feeling more lonely than any widow ever could, because at least a widow knows that love existed once. I never even had that. This card is evidence. It is proof of a trial that no one attended, no jury, no verdict. Just a woman standing alone in a courtroom with Exhibit A in her hands, and nobody on the other side. Some nights I sit in his old recliner, not because I miss him, because of habit. And that's worse, isn't it? I don't sit there out of love. I sit there because 55 years carved a groove so deep I just fall into it. The clock ticks. The neighborhood carries on outside my window. I can hear children playing sometimes, laughter, car doors closing, people coming home to people who are happy to see them. Every sound is confirmation of the warmth I never had. I am alone now. But the cruelest revelation, the one that keeps me up at 3 a.m, is this. I was always alone. His death didn't take anything from me. It just made the emptiness visible to others. Now I'm going to talk to you. Yes, you. The one watching this right now. I know who you are. You're the woman sitting in bed at midnight with the screen glowing on your face while he sleeps beside you, and you can't remember the last time he asked about your day. You're the one who makes the dinner and cleans the kitchen and falls into bed exhausted, and he doesn't notice because he has never noticed. You're the one who whispers to herself, maybe it'll get better. You're the one buying your own flowers and pretending they're from him. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Stop it. Stop romanticizing endurance. Stop calling your suffering patience. Stop telling yourself that staying makes you strong. It doesn't. It makes you disappear. One day at a time, one swallowed word at a time, one anniversary at a time, until you look in the mirror and there's nothing left but the outline of a woman who used to exist. Your silence is not strength, it is surrender, and you are handing your life to someone who will never even realize they're holding it. If he cannot see you, leave the table. If he walks past the candles, stop lighting them. If he never asks how you are, stop waiting for the question and start answering it yourself. The answer is, you are not okay, and you deserve to be. Do not buy yourself anniversary cards. Do not write love letters that no one will read. Do not iron the tablecloth for a man who won't sit down. I am 78 years old. I am sitting in an empty house, holding a card that was never opened. And I am telling you with everything I have left, do not become me. Don't be 78 with proof in your hands that nobody came. Put the card down, get up, and go live the life I never did.